Hello everyone, Mike here with Hikes with Mike YouTube channel and hikeswithmike.com. We're back again for another hike out here in beautiful Colorado. As you can hear behind me, we're starting the hike again next to a highway. So this particular trailhead is right off I-70 corridor. In fact, to my knowledge, there's nothing else off of this exit aside from this trailhead. So we're currently at the Herman Gulch Trailhead. The Herman Gulch Trailhead is one of my absolute favorite in the state, and it's also many others, if you can probably see the cars behind me. Got a bit of a late start today, so we're going to boogie and get on the trail. We're heading the Watrous Gulch Trail, heading up toward Woods Mountain. So like I said, we're at the Herman Gulch Trailhead here. Herman Gulch Trail is pretty interesting because it connects to the Continental Divide Trail, which will continue all the way from Mexico up to Canada on the Continental Divide. It also splits off into two different trail systems that you can navigate through. So most people will go up the Herman Gulch Trail up to Herman Lake, which connects to Pettingill Peak, the Citadel, and a few other notable 13ers. But I'm going to go the less popular way, which is Watrous Gulch. We're going to head this direction up to this peak right here, which is Woods Mountain. Now, as you probably saw behind me, there were tons of cars here at the trailhead. Thankfully, the parking area is pretty large. However, everything was taken up, so I had to park a little bit beyond the designated parking area. That's a big reason why we're going to be heading up toward Watrous Gulch today. Most people, like I said, will head up toward Herman Gulch. But Watrous Gulch should be a lot less busy. Another thing that I really like about this trail is that, as you can hear right now, the road noise is very loud. However, as you climb up, maybe about a half mile past the trailhead, that road noise is quickly overpowered by the noise of a rushing creek. And from there on out, silent mountain air. All right. So here's one of the Continental Divide trail markers. Like I mentioned, this particular trail links up with the Continental Divide, and actually is part of it for most of the trail. So most people, like I said, will go toward Herman Gulch, and we're going this way toward Watrous Gulch. Well, being perfectly honest with you, this is my first time going to be above alpine in probably a couple years. Personal reasons, I haven't been able to get out hiking recently, so I'm trying to make an effort to do that again, which is another reason why I decided to create this YouTube channel. So please excuse the huffing and puffing as I continue to get back in shape and get reacclimated. So, general rule of thumb for hiking in Colorado, especially in the alpine, is to try to be down from the summit or headed down below tree line before 2 p.m. Reason being is that's usually when thunderstorms start rolling in and making those big, scary, sparkly things that can kill you. So, our goal is to be down well before then. However, it does appear some clouds are already moving in. Speaking of wildflowers, I intentionally brought one of my film cameras today. I'd hopefully capture some wildflowers on film. I'm shooting on my Canon Elan with Kodak Portra 400 loaded in there. Let's see what we get. So from this angle, you can really see I-70, the main corridor that cuts through the Colorado Rockies. And then just in the top right corner there, you'll see one of Colorado's most famous 14ers. That's Torrey's Peak. It's right next to Gray's Peak, so a lot of times people will summit them together and colloquially we'll call them Gray's and Torrey's. I've summited them both from two different directions. Well, just like that, the highway noise is replaced by the sound of this rolling creek. So it's been about 5 years or so since I've actually been in this area. And the last time I was here, I saw a beautiful lean-to shelter that somebody had built. Let's see if it's still here. Well, here it is, the lean-to that I was talking about earlier. Looks like it's still in pretty good shape. This campsite would be really fun if you had a group. Put some tents over here. Nice fire pit that somebody put together. We're going to take a quick water break and continue on. Another reason why I like this campsite a lot is it has this meadow just off the campsite. That's all yours. Be amazing to wake up here, see the sunrise on Mount Sniktoo and Torrey's Peak out there. Just an absolutely gorgeous zone. As always, if you decide to camp here, just make sure that you leave no trace and practice good fire safety. Well, this was a pretty cool spot to take a break, and I would like to come back here and camp someday. But we got places to be, so we're going to continue on up the trail. So here we are at our first true junction on this trail. If we were to head right here on this fainter trail, we continue on the Bard Creek Trail, which takes you around this sloping ridge that you can see somewhat through the trees, all the way around that ridge, and then to the summit of Bard Peak. Quite a long trail if you wanted to do a multi-day. However, we're going to continue on this way through Watrous Gulch. You can really tell when you're getting the tree line in the alpine in Colorado, because the temperature drops and the wind really picks up. Well, hopefully you can start to see why this is one of my favorite areas. So close to Denver, only about an hour drive from South Denver. Wildflowers abound, and not a lot of people. For such a popular trailhead, I've only passed 10 people so far today. If I had gone the other direction toward Herman Gulch, I probably would have passed 10 times that number of people by now. One of my favorite Colorado wildflowers is the Indian paintbrush, and I've seen quite a few cool ones today. Well, we are at our second junction of the day on the Woods Mountain hike. If we were to continue on in this direction, we'll head directly to Parnassus. However, we're going to be heading in this direction instead, which is a more direct route of Woods Mountain. If we were to go to the opposite direction, go to the right, we would end up in a zone where we could summit Woods Mountain. However, I've never been this way, and I'd like to check it out. Well, once you lose the Watrous Gulch Trail, things get pretty steep from there, but the views are totally worth it. Well, there's my destination. Just need to beat that thunderstorm. Whew. Gonna be quick. So straight ahead is Mount Parnassus, 13er. But I believe we're looking at the false summit from this perspective. Here's a better perspective of the valley we climbed out of. If you get above tree line in Colorado, you'll see a bunch of stunted, kind of gnarled trees. And they're referred to as krummholz in alpine terminology, which I think is a German word that loosely translates to gnarled root. Our first snow crossing. The trail itself has been relatively dry this entire time. I've only got my feet wet once in that Bard Creek crossing, but as is typical out here, the higher we get up, the more snow patches persist. So right up there at the top is the saddle between Parnassus and Woods Mountain, which I am panning over to right now. Like I mentioned earlier, we will probably lose the trail for a short period of time, but it looks like with some recent Colorado hikers, we have a bit of a footpath that leads to the summit. So this valley, on the north side of Herman and Watrous Gulches, is Ruby Gulch, another beautiful zone that you can access from the Berthoud Falls area. In fact, I think the road in the distance that's switchbacking up there is part of Berthoud Pass. Some cornices still hanging on this northern end of Woods Mountain, and there's our destination. Almost there. So here's where we need to make a decision. We're about a quarter till 2, so about 15 minutes until thunderstorms can become pretty dangerous, and we're about a quarter mile below the summit. Judging by these clouds, I think I can make it. They're not grouped together. It doesn't seem like they're dark at this point underneath and not making any thunder sounds. So I'm gonna go for it, but it's always a personal decision, and I would never recommend carrying on if you do not feel comfortable. The summit will always be there. The summit is always optional, and going home is not. Well, like most high peaks, definitely making you earn it. This last quarter mile of the stretch is steep. Well, here we are at the summit of Woods Mountain. The app I'm using says the summit is at 12,941 feet. However, my watch is telling me that we're currently at 16,000 feet, which is impossible because there are no 16,000 foot mountains in Colorado. That being said, the views are just outstanding. Well, this has been a lot of fun, and couldn't recommend this hike enough to anyone who'd like to test their limits and really avoid the crowds while also getting some excellent summit views. 14ers are great, and the popular 13ers as well, but hiking with 100 plus of my best friends is not what I consider ideal. And if you're in the same boat as me, you may like checking out Woods Mountain. But I think it's time for us to head down. It took us about 3.5 hours to get to the top here, and thankfully it only took us a fraction of the time to get down to the bottom. But as you can see to the north, we got some darker clouds, some rain probably moving in. So we're gonna head down before it hits us. I'll have to look it up when I get home, but I believe all these yellow flowers are Old Man of the Mountain, and they are all over this ridge. Just stunning. There's a couple trail runners I just passed on the way down. Hope they make it before it gets spicy up there. Nice little campsite over here. Looks like it hasn't been used recently. Can't beat that view though. So there's some campers at the lean-to shelter that I was resting at earlier. Looks like it would be a really great spot. I'd love to camp there someday. Now you're getting close to the trailhead when you can see and hear the road. But I am glad to almost be back. And we're back here at the junction. So again, this would be the way to go up to Herman Gulch, which I highly encourage you to do. Just maybe not on a weekend. Okay, we are back at the trailhead. Watch clocked us in at 7.15 miles. Not sure on the elevation gain, that was suspect. But we made it back. Well, hey, thanks for joining me. This was a lot of fun. I am thoroughly exhausted. I hope you enjoy following along on this hike up to Woods Mountain in the Arapaho National Forest. If you're interested in these videos and seeing more like them, please like and subscribe to Hikes with Mike YouTube channel and hikeswithmike.com. See you next time.